welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and today's car is the Lamborghini Revuelto. Now, the name is causing slight confusion, I should say now. There are several pronunciations you'll hear about it, and it's added to because it's named after a Spanish fighting bull in typical Lamborghini tradition. And there's a Spanish sort of way of saying it, and there's an Italian way of saying it. And in Italian, I am told it's very close to scrambled eggs, which is an unfortunate sort of dual meaning of the word. But Revuelto is what I'm going to stick with. And it is a 1,015 horsepower Lamborghini, just craziness. And it takes over, obviously, from the Aventador, but it is so different. The drivetrain obviously has a battery in it. It has 2 electric motors in the front and a third one in the back. And it is so crazy quick, it's untrue. Lots of tech to go through. Let's go and have a closer look. The styling is so Lamborghini, and I love it next to the Countach. Obviously, we saw it when we had that trip out to the factory in the Countach, and seeing the two together, it's bigger, but wow. Is what this car is all about. It just turns you into a little kid, really. Just the excitement of the styling, and yes, what you want the flagship Lamborghini to be like. Carbon fibre construction. The nose comes right to the front here, and open radiators at the front. Lots of carbon on this one. This one has a few extras on it. The car lists £422,000. As you see it here, £537,000, and a lot of that is £18,000 for lower exterior carbon package and upper exterior carbon package shiny. 18,000 and 17,000 for those two, plus VAT. So a lot of money to get all the carbon that you see on this example. One mention, I've driven this car at night. Lights are unbelievable. There are LED. There is a light headlamps package. So whether this is extra, €3,000, but they dance. They're super bright on mains, obviously, but they're one of those reactive lights, but they're hyperactive, and they're always trying to get main beam. I don't know if you drive those sort of automatic headlights sometimes, and they always seem to stick on dip. Not so with these, quite amazing headlights on it. These big wheels on it, this aero all round this car, 21 and 22 inch, and they're on Bridgestone Potenza Sport run flat tyres. So you don't get a canister of goo in this car anymore, you get run flat tyres, which is a surprise. There is also a lot more aero going on. The Lamborghini claim at peak aero 33% more downforce at the front and 74% at the rear compared to the Aventador Ultima. But hard to prove in Cotswold roads, but that's what they say. And also, I like the colour on this car. Normally they're vibrant yellow or orange pressed Lamborghinis. This car, Verde Hydra. So a subtle colour, still costs you €18,000 plus VAT extra, but does seem to suit the car. And then the wheels, they're the bronze diamond cut wheels, £5,500 for those. Titanium wheel nuts as well, another £1,000 gone there. Oh, and you want black calipers? Oh, it's €1,100 or something like that. Yes, specking a car is no longer simple in this world of Lamborghini craziness. Round the back, yeah, you can very definitely see the aero on show there. Real diffuser on it, very deep. I'm surprised that the carbon is literally the first thing you hit. Yeah, parking this car, having a parking lot in this car would be quite expensive, I'd imagine, because it's the same at the front. There's no sort of plastic sort of protection at all, straight into carbon. But it's a flagship crazy Lamborghini. What would you expect? The back, though, engine exposed, as you can see there. I love that. I mean, we saw it first on Veyrons and things, but this actually does lift up, which I'll lift up in a moment. But that engine, oh my goodness. So 6.5 litre engine, and horsepower, 825 horsepower, torque, 725 Newton meters of torque, 6,750 RPM. It's interesting, this car, because they obviously give a combined power output of 1,015 horsepower. No mention of torque, even though it has all these electric motors on it, and they are very powerful. Just the front motors, they say 350 Newton meters of torque each, so 700 Newton meters on the front axle. And I just think it's interesting. I did that drive in the 12-cylinder Spider a couple of weeks ago, and same size engine, 830 horsepower, 825 here. Torque is slightly down on the Ferrari, those 678 Newton meters against 725. So really close, these two engines, from the head-to-head battle between Ferrari and Lamborghini. But I want to explain the drivetrain on this car. And to do that, I'm just going to lift this up. Obviously the carbon is extra if you want that. And this doesn't have any struts on it, it's old school, and it's got a little strut on it here. And I can't remember how it comes off. There we go. Where's that go? That goes in there. Yeah, very much carbon construction, this car. Everywhere you look, you see the carbon here, carbon there, as we saw in the factory. Now, traditionally, just from the age of Countach, the gearbox on a flagship Lamborghini was actually in between the driver and the passenger. It was down the tunnel, because that's how they did the four-wheel drive coming off the front of the gearbox, went to the front. They did it in the Countach to get the weight a more even front to rear, but on this Lamborghini, they've changed completely the drive setup. So engine shoved right against the bulkhead, and the gearbox, now 8-speed dual clutch transmission, is at the back. And as soon as you see those sort of orange wires, that means that's the high voltage direct current coming from the battery, which now sits where the gearbox used to sit, in between passenger and driver. 3.7 kilowatt hour battery on this car, quite small, half the size of, say, the SF90 or something like that. And there is this gearbox that not only 8-speed transmission, no reverse gear, but has this electric motor in it. And the electric motor is rated at 110 kilowatts. No mention of torque on it though. So 8-speed gearbox in the rear with this electric motor in it. But it's interesting, if you look at the spec sheet, they describe it as a generator. It's so much confusion. Engines are so much easier than trying to work out how the electric propulsion works on these sort of cars. All I know is the electric motor in the front, if you select reverse, then it's done by the front axle, as is if you're in pure electric motor, it's front wheel drive. But then it says if there's low traction, it can introduce this rear electric motor as well. So it is four wheel drive in electric mode. They say there's 13 separate ways drive setups on this car. I don't know. It's just mad how much tech there is on a car like this. But as you'll see when we get on the road, the performance is just astonishing. The Lamborghini claim top speed 217 miles an hour and a 0 to 100 kilometre time of 2.5 seconds. We're in Veyron territory, and I think it's actually a bit quicker than Veyron, this car. Just before we look at the front, I just wanted to show you there, it's a very good example. You can see the forged carbon. So this is the tub, this is the makeup of this car. And yeah, it's a distinctive look. It's not like the woven carbon you expect to see, or we see on the engine cover and seals and diffuser and things, but that is the main bit. Right, around the front though, big carbon bonnet. There has been just comments on the paint finish on this, because it's all carbon bodied. It's not like a pressed steel. It's just, you can sort of see that it's not absolutely mirror flat compared to other cars. This, you know, it's a £500,000 car. I don't know, it doesn't bother me, but it does bother some people, that sort of thing. Then, there's the front boot. Quite big, actually, quite generous, I thought, for this sort of car. And it has a neat little thing. You either charge it through a sort of C-Tech trickle charger, which goes on the front. But if you just look around here, if you come around the other side, Charlie, you'll see there is the high voltage charger. It goes in there, which I have done. And what I've never seen before, obviously the cable being inside the car, in effect, if you want to lock it with it charging, well, then it has this neat little arrangement here, which means there's a way you can close the bonnet and it catches but leaves enough gap so the wire can come in. So I've never seen that little arrangement there before. But anyway, that's what that's for. Another little thing I'd love is here. You don't get, as I say, the goo, but if you look in there, you get Lamborghini white gloves and a little, there we are, Lamborghini. I get exactly the same gloves on my Countach, which has always been a tradition, the Lamborghini toolkit and these white leather gloves. So there's a quick look round this Revuelto. Let's take it outside, take it for a drive. Yeah, of course it has to have scissor doors. a flagship Lamborghini wouldn't be without them. And yeah, just so you know, if you are getting a Revuelto, the thing to do is you put your finger under there, you feel this pressure pad, you pull up on it, and the temptation is to immediately pull up on the door. Don't do that, because then the window hasn't got time to drop and the door won't open, and it looks like you've only done it the first time. If you want to pretend you own this car and you're always travelling the crazy Lamborghinis, you put your finger under, touch, let the window drop, and then lift the door. Top tips. Yeah, and then presented with this crazy interior. Good things, there is space behind the seats here, so you can chuck sort of coats and things behind there. All it's dominated is that view out the rear window with the top of the cam covers showing and just a sea of carbon, this tunnel, tiny little thing. It does remind me of Countach with this little bit of behind, it's all you can see. But then, yeah, big windows out on stalks, beautifully designed. I love the design of Lamborghini mirrors. And yeah, the dash over that side. This one hasn't lit up yet. I'm just intrigued what it's going to do, because it actually starts in electric mode. But if the temperature in here is needs a bit of heat, then it starts the engine purely to heat the cabin. So I'm going to press the button, lift up the flap as ever, seat whirls into my position. Lamborghini, the show starts. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, engine E mode. I'm gonna quickly move. If I move now, the engine isn't actually engaged. I am moving under electric power by doing that. It's all very bizarre. Yeah, E mode is possible when engine is warming up. Yeah, welcome to the new age of hybrid Lamborghinis and all the things you have to learn with this car. A few extras on this car, as I mentioned, in the garage. Funny enough, some things seems all right. Passenger displays, €3,000. I think everyone's going to tick that box probably. Steering wheel, carbon package leather, £6,500 to have the carbon at the top and leather on that side. Digress. Central screen, very McLaren, but I'm a big fan of how it works in McLaren. As you can see here, this is your climate. I've got it set to 21.5 degrees, and that was too much for it. And then this display in front of me, and I've got the electric range, 3 miles. Yeah, you soon realise that there's not a lot of miles on pure electric with this car. It's been done. It has lowered the emissions, about 30% lower, but really it's all about the performance with this car. Gearbox under here, just recognisable. We'd recognise it with that reverse lever to lift up. So clever. One touch of the paddle and you move off. Got a glove box as well, wireless charging on there, and I've got a little pad here. Yeah, there is no sense, there's nothing in the doors because they scissor up and everything would fall out, and there's nothing in the centre console because that's one great big battery in there. So yeah, nice trimming in there as well. Right, let's head out and see what this car is all about. A lot of controls on the wheel, which I'll get to, and the wipers do that to tell me they're in auto mode every time we set it off. So I do one press on the wiper and they go off. And yeah, I'm still on electric because it's still it's still on the engine running. Is it? No, I'm on electric now. So there you go. It's flashed to electric. It's warmed the cabin up. Let's head out. Probably worth me just running through what I've got on the wheel here because it's quite important. I've got this little button, I can go that way and it goes to electric mode, sit out as it's turned. I go the next one, it'll go to Strada, and that will basically turn the engine on. Oh, there it is. And I've got Sport, and I've got a Sport Plus over there. And then this side, I'm in hybrid at the moment. I can flick it left and go to recharge and use the engine to charge up this battery, which is not very big, as I say, 3.8 kWh. So it will charge that in 6 minutes, the engine. And then I've got performance. Beyond hybrid going right, I've got performance. Then I've also got dampers on here, I can go soft or hard, and I've got nose lift, which is very fast. It goes up very quickly, which is good news. And I've got indicators like this, and if you're into bikes you will recognise this. So I press it once, indicator goes, and then it stops. You only get 3 flashes, which is, I find, a little bit annoying. You've got to press and hold if you want the indicators to stay on, and then you can cancel them if you want to in the middle button, left and right there. Headlights are down here, normally they're on auto, and then wiper control here, cruise control down here. So that's all that bit. But yeah, it's quite something. Takes a bit of learning when you first get into it. But I'm still in auto, in normal, well, hybrid mode, and yeah, it really doesn't take long to get up to speed, this car, and it's quite something. But it's around 4,000 RPM where you hear the engine. Whether it's piped in or not, I don't care, but it's a glorious guttural Lamborghini sound. And there's a lot of noise to deal with, and I picked it up and I couldn't believe how noisy it was on the motorway. I measured at 85 decibels. I've just measured it on my noisy bit of road at 80 decibels. But yeah, it's the carbon tub, big fat tires, 355 section tyres at the rear. They all produce drum, and I also think the engine is mounted in this carbon cradle rather than aluminium as it was on the Aventador, and I think that transmits noises and clunks and things in the gearbox. You just have a sensation this is a very mechanical, wild device, which is a positive, really. Or, now I'm just going into Burford, I will flick it left, silence, and I will now go through Burford on electric power only. How very 2025. The other thing to note in this car is every car you get into in 2025 you have to go through the menu and turn off the ADAS stuff and speed stuff. Not in your Revuelto, because it's so noisy you can't hear the speed warnings. Nothing seems to pop up on the dash and things, so there's no need in this car, so it gets bonus points for that. Now I'm going to have my little squirt up the hill, so I'm going to move this out of city and into Strada. Oh, hello, there's a V12 engine again. It's done a little bit of electric, but in Strada, here we go, squirt up the hill, auto still. And yeah, a little demonstration of this car. The performance is just amazing. I mean, truly amazing on this car. Autocar actually figured it, and it dips into the fours for its 0 to 100 time. That means it's quicker than the Veyron Super Sports that they tested back in, I think it was 2011. It's quicker than the SF90, a whole load of things. It's extraordinary the performance this car offers. And yet, I did weigh it, and it went flipping heavy, I thought, way heavier. They quote, I think, 1770 kilo dry weight. Utter waste of time, dry weight. On the weighbridge, 1,960 kilos. Almost 2 tons of Lamborghini you have here. Yes, it's got all these motors to power it along and this glorious V12, but that's chunky, isn't it? I'm going to go round to sport there, then I can tap into performance on the engine. Now it's just going to use a bit more electric as I go turn down here, and I'm going to go to manual mode, so I'm going to take control of it. Yeah, beautiful gearbox. You keep it over 4,000 RPM, and that's where you get the Lamborghini noise. Yeah, and it's playful. Wow. Yeah, once it's got the electric turned up and you're in performance, I'm just going to do the dampers, which is fantastic. I can go down to soft damping, keep it in its more aggressive mode. I'm going to calm it down actually out of performance. I'm going to Strada, there we are. I go slightly more normal because this is the bumpy bit of road. I just want to test it across just to see if it's pulling back. I can flick some gears in, quieten it down. In fact, I'll take it out of manual and let it to its own devices. I mean, it's sporting, isn't it? It doesn't have a huge amount of travel, but somehow it rounds it off, even though the rear tyres, I noticed, were 25 section tyres. 25, 355, 25 section 22s. I wouldn't like to be buying those when these ones wear out. So, yeah, any slight deflection. Yeah, there is a There's a bit of following camber, but they're so extreme, the tyres on this. In fact, the whole car is so extreme, it's sort of excused. It's all part of the experience. It's an intense experience. And I should say, I went to collect this car from Lamborghini Hatfield because I just wanted someone to take me all round everything this car does. It does take learning, as we'll come to, what are the best settings, and you know, I like the way I can sort of help recharge the battery, because you have to manage the battery. You've got such little range on it, 4 miles, 5 miles, absolute maximum, and it's soon flicking the engine in if it sees anything over that. Yeah, there's a lot to learn in here, and driving away from Hatfield, even though I'm reasonably experienced on these sort of cars, was quite intimidating. Just the size of it, how there's no blind spot indicators in the mirrors. You've got gearbox, you've got all this to manage, the indicators keep turning off. It's all part of it. My Countach is intense and is very, you know, intimidating to anyone who's not driven it. So it's in the genes with these cars, that's what they're like. Right, I'm going back into manual. I'm going to pop this up to sport again. Let's just try it around here. Oh, it's you think it feels more like a late Huracan than it does anything with the Aventador. It has moved up to another level of dynamism, this car. It is extraordinary what the engineers have done with this thing. There's a lot of tech going on. There's rear steering at the back. There's a very clever springs and dampers, and obviously the dampers move depending on what settings I've got on here. But it just the way it turns in as fixed rack now, not that horrible variable rack they launched with Aventador. A whole load of things that make it way friendly. And again, on my trip home from Hatfield, I went to my favourite bit of road, and I was thinking, what's it going to be like down here? Within a minute, I was at home, I was pushing it, and I thought, wow, this is something else. So yeah, you pointed at a little B road like this, and it's way better than it has any right to be. The speed of change compared to what we got used to it. Listen to that. Oh. Oh. Right, probably time to go through some likes and dislikes. I'm not going to call them dislikes on this car, just perhaps annoyances is a better description of it. But I suppose number one is all quite complicated, and it takes a bit of learning, and you've got all these various settings. You do get used to it, and I wish there was a sort of like an M button like you get on BMW where you could choose all your favourite settings with one press, but you have to play around with this. Then, yeah, a bit of a practical one. Fill the tank up, and it doesn't last very long. I think it's 15, 16 mpg you would average in this car, I suppose. I did manage over 20 mpg on the motorway run at 70, 73 miles an hour all the way home. So you can just squeeze it over 20. But the tank is only 68 litres. That's tiny. And you'll be filling up way too often. You can just get to 200 miles if you're lucky. But yeah, likes. I think that's it for noise. Oh, I could say it's too heavy, but yeah, you've got enough firepower to get over that. Perhaps you ought to go on to the likes. And the big surprise was just that it was way more friendly down a little road like I've got here. I was not expecting that at all. This is a big car, but it's easy to place, and weirdly how it shuffles its power like that, and it just lit up the rear just coming out of there. It's all that power from that engine and the electric motor go through those rear wheels. They do not go to the front, and you can just sense the edge of the rear adhesion on this car, and I'm gobsmacked by that. It's not a friendly device, but My goodness, it's quite something from the Aventadors of old, and you get into this, or a Diabolo, or a Murcielago. They were pretty ragged at the far end. You didn't like to venture there. The only downside is it's so flipping fast that you've just got to watch your speed. Yeah, I'm going to mention the speed as a slight annoyance as well. It is so noisy in here, and there's so much other drama going on with sounds, gearboxes shuffling, suspension moving around, howling V12. Trying to pick what your speed is hard. You do find yourself in a 60 going 61 or maybe 62 miles an hour when you don't mean to be speeding, if you get my meaning. And yeah, I don't think I'd have my driving license very long if I own this car, because yeah, you are building speed so quickly, and yet you're not really conscious of it because it is so easy to do in this crazy car. Our special mention has to go to the styling of this car. My God, it's spectacular on the outside. It's like bloody hell, and it's just so Lamborghini, and I absolutely love that about it as well. So, in conclusion, would I buy this car? Well, unfortunately, I haven't got the sort of money it takes to buy this car, but if you're in the market for this car, yes, I would, because it's like son of Countach. The genes are right through it. The utter madness that we love of Lamborghini on their flagship cars is alive and well in 2025 in this car. From sound, styling, the handling, the unbelievable performance from it. This is it. If you want to live that sensation that early Countach owners had when that car was roaming the streets and was the fastest thing on the planet, well, that's the experience you get with the Revuelto in 2025. Ferrari SF90, spectacularly quick, feels lighter than this, but it hasn't got the drama. It hasn't got that V12 and the instantaneous. If I just drop a few gears, instantaneous, whoa! The combination of the torque infill and a normally aspirated V12, the sharpness of the throttle is extraordinary. And I found on that car, the electric motors on the front axle, you weren't quite sure what was going on with the turbocharged engine. There was too much unknown. I was highly reliant on the electronics. I probably am in this car, but it doesn't feel like it in the way that it did in the SF90 when you drive this car. And I love that it's slightly mobile at the back. If I just put a bit too much power, I know it's all going to the rear tyres. So it's so exciting to actually push it along. I don't know. I didn't think we'd have cars like this. And the price, God, it's chunky. But if you want a V12 mid-engined 1,000 horsepower mad car, well, the next step up in performance is probably the Gordon Murray T50, but they're all sold out at 2 million and something. Or you have a Utopia, I suppose, 2.2 million, but you're in stratosphere stuff. So it's extraordinary, this car. It's a production car. They're probably going to be crazy versions, going to be SV versions. Lord knows what that's going to be like. But right here and now, I absolutely love this car. Much bigger hit than I expected. If I look at the 12-cylinder, that's so easy and more, it's not placid, but it's more user-friendly. It's front engine, it's gentleman's GT car. This is dark raving, mad Koenigsegg craziness. And it's here and now. Wonderful styling. So yeah, much as I feared a Lamborghini with a battery, it's just extraordinary to drive. So there you go. There's my review of the new Lamborghini Revuelto on some of my favourite roads. Thank you for subscribing in big numbers. You are responding, and I'm gaining subscribers very helpfully at the moment. So I really thank you for that. If you haven't done it, press the buttons, whatever. I will promise you now, there's some more videos coming along very soon. Thanks for watching.